Thanks very much. It's a real pleasure for me to be in Riga again. I always enjoy the city a lot and the people. I'm going to be speaking about renovation. We have some introductions to sustainability and to other things about the situation in Europe. And I'm going to be speaking about a project I'm coordinating, which is called Build Upon, and over 13 countries of Europe. Okay, this is the project. It is a collaborative policy-making project, which is, at the beginning for us, was a strange combination of words, collaborative policy-making, but now we are understanding it a bit better. It is coordination and support action of the Horizon 2020, which is the research and innovation big program of the European Union. It includes 13 countries. It has a budget of 2.35 million euro, and we are coordinating it from Green Building Council España. And the 13 participants are also Green Building Councils of the Czech Republic, Ireland, Italy, Sweden, Bulgaria, Croatia, Finland, Latvia, Slovakia, Slovenia, Romania, and also Turkey. Sorry. So I'm going to say something about GBCs. GBCs, I belong to GBC España. These are the Green Building Councils, here called, the Latvian is called Sustainable Building Council, which is probably more appropriate, are transversal organizations with all the stakeholders. In theory, we are probably having problems having the final users mostly, but it starts from the industry, but actually its aim is to have all the stakeholders involved. So this would be the webpage of my GBC. You can see very many GBCs in the world. There are about 100 national GBCs at different stages of development. And this is the webpage of World GBC, where you can see what we do, the regions, whatever. This was the very recent Congress in October in Sweden, or some of the projects we have. Build Upon is one of the big projects of World GBC. Participated by GBCs, but now we have other projects in our near future. These are the GBCs of Europe, so you would say that there are more GBCs in Europe than nations in Europe, actually. So that's good, I guess. Some of them, all of them are at different stages of development, but basically this is the map of the GBCs in Europe. And we are getting to have, as GBCs, a good position with respect to the European Commission, because right now, and these are the words, this is a presentation by Josephina Kleinblom of the DG Environment, where she says that actually we are providing a big support, because it's the support from the civil society, and they need to have this insight into what we do, because otherwise they will be enclosed in their position. What is it about? It is about assisting public authorities, which is a good start, I would say. Authorities need to be assisted. Well, we could discuss why they are authorities, but that would be out of the point right now. And the way to do it is by empowering stakeholders, and because there is a general lack of capacity and coordination. And the specific subject is the definition and implementation of sustainable energy policies. Speaking about buildings, the key thing for our future is building renovation, because obviously a country that builds a lot probably builds a new 2% per year with relation to the existing building stock, and a country that builds little may build 0.5% or something. But the remaining 90 a lot percent is the existing building stock. So, as you know, every member state had the obligation to present the version 2 of the National Renovation Strategy in April 2017. So we must present this update every 4 years, and the next one is upcoming very shortly. So we are working with this recommendation to our governments, all the GBCs. speaking about building renovation, I'm using this image because it's very descriptive. Because we know very little about buildings, even though we do build in some cases, or we control the processes for making buildings or for using buildings. We don't know much about building renovation. When we speak about this, we speak about deep energy renovation. Right now, the individual advantages are very clear, but also the collective advantages are very clear. For the European Union, this means a tremendous energy dependence, and that's sovereignty. So it's not only money, it's your capacity to be autonomous or not, but also it has to do a lot with employment and, of course, with pollution. Buildings have the largest saving potential, so we should use that. We are not doing it so far. This is the reason of Build Upon and many other projects. It's also the reason, for instance, of this campaign, the Renovation campaign. This was one of the first manifestos. This would mean reduced energy imports, millions of jobs, and also billions in financial returns. It's very important to understand this last part, because investing from the governments in renovation means that a big part of that money is going to return to the public monies. So this should be understood that way, not the way subsidies are understood, but an investment that has a return. In figures, that could mean 2 million euros for 2020, 39 billion euro per year in public finances, and boosting the European Union GDP of 0.7% per year, which is a lot. We have heard some things about the directives that affect this. They are insufficient at this moment. The two more direct are the EPBD, the Energy Performance of Business Directive, and the EED, the Energy Efficiency Directive, and they are going to be integrated, and we'll see a proposal on that on December. But the background is very complex. We are trying to move a lot, and I'll describe this a bit more, how fragmented this is and how difficult it is to do things in this area. So this campaign aims at reducing 80% the energy demand, not the consumption, but the demand. The consumption will depend on how you provide that energy by 2050 compared to the levels of 2005, and that should be done by an intervention in 3% of the building stock per year. So this would be the aim. This is the situation in 2012, so we intend to green the building stock to achieve this 60 kilowatt-hour per square meter per year in average in Europe. So with respect to the strategies the countries have written, a first study by the Building Performance Institute of Europe said that no strategies were considered best practice. A kinder, I would say, study by the Joint Research Center said that the strategies were better. And according to the 5 points of analysis of the strategies, they made this map. So this is how the countries were rated. We are very satisfied because Spain was rated the highest. You can see Latvia in the middle of the chart. We are satisfied, but at the same time we are a bit ashamed, because we may have a very good strategy in Spain, but it doesn't, the output is almost non-existent. So it probably is a long-term strategy, but we should also have a bit of a short-term strategy in it. So this is a very recent study by OpenX, by Emilio that says that actually we should be optimistic, because we are doing more renovation. So in residential, renovation is going from 30% in 2005 to 37% in 2015, and in non-residential from 16 to 20. These are good news, but these are relative figures. In absolute figures, obviously the construction is less. But okay, we can be optimistic because this is happening. The problem is that the directives that affect building renovation are no less than a dozen, and all of them should be integrated somehow. They belong to separate territories, and the problem is that it's not only the directives, but also the general directorates, and also the industry itself. So this either we solve this separation or there is no solution for that. Is the conclusion of this work. So with proposals such as an energy renovation facilitator, this type of things, we really need to reinvent the industry we want to do renovation. This is my personal way of seeing renovation. We all live in different places with scattered envelopes. But in the concept, the envelopes are exactly the same thing. And that thing is that the envelope is what separates the citizen from the outside. And that is important for a government. So if you can consider the envelopes as one single thing, maybe the governments can have a breakthrough and do things slightly different. So this has to do also with concepts of property and so on. This is an example of things well done in France, for instance, where you can see that 35 or 36,000 million euros are going to be put into energy efficiency. So this is wonderful. If every country could have a map like this, that would be wonderful. So the problem is that we have a huge fragmentation. The solution, obviously, is collaboration, but in a special way, because you know, doing renovation is like juggling with 7 balls. If one of them falls, it doesn't work, and all of them fall very quickly as well. So you need to have all the balls in the air. In this project, we are about at the end of it. It will conclude in February 2017, just before we would produce recommendations to our governments. This is the web page. It's a very interesting web page because you can see it in 13 languages. Maybe this is the one you are most interested in, but you can also see it in different in 12 more languages. So we want to help our government to write our national renovation strategy, starting from version 1. We are going to be doing that with a series of workshops. And that and with that, we will create a new dialogue culture with all the stakeholders, and we create a community, integrating also other initiatives into the mainstream, so that we have a better strategy in April 2017, and a renovation community that we intend to keep stable. But we also need to talk to the end user who is never in the conversations, and that is a big problem. So we need to expand that to outside, so that the end user gets motivated, and with this strategy improved, with the renovation community, we can provide a good service to our society. The way we started doing this was a study in our stakeholders. It was funny because when we started very much the British way with stakeholders analysis, the users were not there. Typically, they are not there in a stakeholder analysis, so we changed that. And we have now the stakeholders of the 13 countries. This is a close-up of the Latvian stakeholders map, where you see circles of different diameters with a bullseye with a different shade of gray. I'm going to use this case of Spain because I could be saying things I would not like to say about Latvia because I don't know the situation. So in Spain, this is how you can distribute this map according to the categories. The green, for instance, is the construction industry, or the blues are the political bodies and so on. So the meaning of the balls is if you have a big diameter, it means that it can be very influential. And if the bullseye is very light gray, it means that they're in favor. So if you have a big ball with a black inside, that is very bad, because that's very influential and it's going to stop things from happening. So you can cluster that by influence or the orientation or whatever. This is the public sector, for instance, where you can see medium shades of gray, in some cases light gray. Or this would be the financial sector, which is probably not against, but not really in favor so far, but that is changing. We are helping to change that. Or the energy, where you can see that actually the interest they have mostly is a question of image, but not much more. We can also see at the webpage the RenoWiki. The RenoWiki is a repository of initiatives of renovation throughout Europe. There are about 1,000 right now, so you can really see a lot. If you don't want to learn about it, you can use this database, which is at our webpage, buildupon.eu. And you can do different types of search and use different filters so that you can get a lot of knowledge about what's going on. Everything is in English and also in local language. Well, we are a bit delayed with the local languages, but everything is in English so you can see it. Okay, so the solution would not be a fragmented collaboration, but a systemic approach. This is what we are doing. I wanted to share with you. So this is the workshops we are having in Europe. At the end of the project, we would have host about 100 workshops in 13 countries. So that's very meaningful. In each workshop, we discuss basically the same things, but from different approaches in a very quick way, so people hear things many times, understand the others. So this is the way to find a solution that is shared. And it's important to have solutions that are shared to propose your government, because it's so the renovation sector is having a voice towards the government. This is my final reflection of this. If you have, we have the list of stakeholders. So this is a list of stakeholders classified in 20 categories. So if you plot this against the same list, and the question is, what do you think of this one? You start finding things like this. So the situation is not very good, so to say. And in most cases, you would find this thing about trust. I'm speaking about trust here, and I think it is very relevant because with control, obviously, you're trying to increase the trust about the process or the product or whatever. What I'm finding as coordinator is that some countries are more advanced because they have more trust in the process, so they don't need to go through some parts of the process to create that trust. They already have that built in. Of course, we have trust in most things we do. I trust now that the building is not going to collapse. That's very simple. But I also trust that when I drive and there is another driver, he's going to stop at a red light and this type of thing, which not always happens, but mostly it happens. Or when I buy a tetra brick of milk, I trust it's not poisoned. So we have these types of controls, and this is working. So, but to make this a bit simpler, how does the user, who is the key player here, see the administration or the banks or the energy world or the manufacturers or the buildings or the consultants in general, architects, engineers, whatever, or the world of knowledge? And if we use this palette, this is my proposal. You can have your own proposal, but I think the user sees the administration about this way, or the banks this way, or the energy whatever, the energy bill that you do not understand and you think you cannot do anything or something. So how if we change that? So that would be the proposal. Let's build up trust. How could the users see the administration, whatever? I think this could happen. This happens in some places, in every country. But in some countries it happens in many places all the time. So this is, I think that this is essential in our process. This is one of my big conclusions, that we really need to build trust, because most of it is a question of trust. At the end of this project, which is very close now, we expect to have an increased dialogue from the GBCs and a capacity to collaborate. We expect to have built a community of dialogue about renovation in each country, and that is happening already. All the governments involved, no less than 1,000 stakeholders engaged throughout Europe. The definition, or a big contribution to the version 2 of the Energy Efficiency Directive, the Article 4, as for the Article 4, and later on a successful implementation of the strategies. And this is very important, general public understanding and acceptance of deep renovation, which is probably the most difficult thing, so that deep renovation becomes a common practice. So thanks very much for your attention. This is my presentation about Build Upon. We're trying, as you can see, we're trying to build a new type of building, which is about the interest of people putting a common way with this thing I write here down: social interaction intelligence around a shared responsibility, which is keeping our building stock in good shape. Thanks a lot.
Thank you very much. Applause.